Number 10. Billboard Music Awards. At the Billboard Music Awards in May, Cara Delevingne stole the show and captured everyone's attention with her erratic behavior and apparent obsession with Megan Thee Stallion. Several of the model's antics ended up going viral following the show, including her peering around a corner and licking her lips while staring at Megan as she posed for the photographers, which I guess was Cara's idea of a joke. Cara could be seen repeatedly lurking around the rapper, ducking in and out of the shot while sticking her tongue out and shouting. The photos took Twitter by storm, with one user writing, "Your chances of being watched by Cara Delevingne are slim but never zero." Eventually, she ran onto the red carpet and grabbed the train of Megan's dress to give the photos some added movement. Some people believe that Megan looked irritated by it all. Not only that, but video footage from a party resurfaced online which showed Cara attempting to kiss Megan while they were on the dance floor, and Megan literally had to grab her shoulders and hold her back. Number 9. Licking Azealia Banks. Not too long ago, a video went viral of the model attempting to lick the rapper Azealia Banks while she was performing her hit track 212 at Leah McSweeney's Halloween party last year. The video was pretty telling because you could see that Azealia got to the end of her song and Cara was literally on her knees in front of her with her tongue out, working her way up the rapper's legs until she was standing alongside the musician. Yes, she seemed like she was licking the entire length of her body, but it's only weird if Azealia says so, and the rapper apparently didn't seem to mind and responded to the video on Twitter, saying that Cara is her girl through and through. Quote, "There were plenty of times I would just hide Cara in my apartment for days at a time to make sure she got some deep sleep and some actual food and wasn't just thrown out amongst the wolves like that." Well, it seems like the nature of their relationship is super ambiguous, but obviously there's a lot of love there. Number 8. Peg the Patriarchy. In 2021, Cara attended the Met Gala wearing a white bulletproof vest with the words "Peg the Patriarchy" on it. The look drew a lot of attention and praise, but only at first. Eventually, the vest drummed up a lot of controversy as Cara was accused of stealing the message from Luna Matata, a queer woman of color who trademarked the phrase in 2015. In an Instagram post, Luna wrote, "While I'm giddy that Peg the Patriarchy made it to the Met Gala, Cara Delevingne tried to pull it off as their own. No credit to me, the creator and the owner of the trademark." Ironically, Luna said that she trademarked the phrase because she was concerned that people like Cara would co-opt her movement, and that the supermodel would grossly misrepresent everything that the original term would stand for. According to Luna, the movement is about subversion. It's not sexual and it's not about men, which is exactly how Cara described it to Keke Palmer when she was being interviewed. So when she posted the outfit on Instagram, her comment section filled up with people demanding that she credit the original designer, which she never ended up doing. Number 7. The Doja Cat photo. At the Billboard Music Awards, Cara Delevingne and Megan Thee Stallion were seated next to each other, and Doja Cat was seated in the front row in front of them. Several clips of the moment went viral on Twitter as fans pointed out that it looked like Megan and Doja were trying to have a conversation with one another, but Cara was constantly interrupting. The whole night was crazy. Whether she was literally on the floor trying to take photos of Doja or sticking her tongue out at Megan, her inappropriate antics eventually led people to accuse the model of fetishizing black women. You might think that's a bit of a reach, but Megan definitely seemed uncomfortable with that kind of attention on her, and even posted a photo to Instagram of her and Doja next to each other with Cara photoshopped out of the picture. It wasn't exactly subtle because everyone saw the original version of the photo, which shows that Cara was actually sitting between them at the time. Number 6. Amber Heard affair. The 2022 defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard was really quite explosive, and it exposed a number of shocking revelations about both parties. But something that really caught everyone's attention was a leaked deposition that went viral online during the trial, which suggested that Cara was involved in a three-way affair between Amber and her billionaire ex-boyfriend Elon Musk. The video featured a key witness in Josh Drew, who was married to one of Amber's friends at the time, who said that to his knowledge, Amber Heard, Elon Musk, and Cara Delevingne spent the night together. The three of them reportedly hooked up at Johnny's downtown LA penthouse in late 2016 after somewhere around the time that he and Amber split up. But there was speculation, just like with James Franco, that Amber was seeing Cara and Elon while she was still with Johnny. In the end, the supermodel did not have to testify in the trial, but for a period of time it certainly seemed like she was going to get pulled into the legal battle. Number 5. Coachella. Beyoncé's culture-shaking performance at the 2018 Coachella Music Festival became so iconic that it was literally called Baychella. Like everyone else, Cara was a huge fan of the show and had nothing but good things to say. She wrote on Instagram, "I am speechless. That performance made me burst into tears and sent shivers down my spine." But her followers were not too happy with that and accused her of hypocrisy, because before the event, Cara was one of the loudest voices supporting the No-Chella movement, which was a boycott of the festival after the owner was caught making donations to anti-LGBTQ+ causes. As the backlash against her started escalating, she hit back at critics on Instagram saying, "I am allowed to shame that man and show my appreciation of an artist at the same time. I still refuse to go to a festival that is owned by someone who is anti-LGBTQ+ and pro-gun." But her followers certainly didn't see it that way, and a messy debate took place in her comment section. Number 4, the Jimmy Choo ad. In 2017, the Me Too movement was gaining some real momentum, largely due to Harvey being exposed as a serial predator. Cara Delevingne was one of the women who came forward with her own disturbing allegations about him that same year, and revealed on Instagram that Harvey had convinced her to follow him to his hotel room and tried to kiss her before she managed to escape. But even though Cara was brave enough to speak up against sexual harassment, it somehow backfired on her when she decided to star in an ad for Jimmy Choo called Shimmer in the Dark. The short film shows her walking around New York City at night, drawing attention from several men on the street, who then start catcalling her and complimenting her. But the attention that she gets is framed as a good thing, and that's what really seemed to anger people, as they pointed to the hypocrisy of it all. Even though most of the backlash was directed at Cara, Jimmy Choo eventually decided to pull the ad as it was deemed too controversial. Number 3, stealing shirt designs. In 2015, the owner of Other Wild design studio, Rachel Burks, started selling feminist t-shirts with the slogan that was created in the 70s. She was doing it ethically and as a collaboration with the original designer. The t-shirts said, "The future is female," and they were an instant hit. But when Cara got her hands on them and posted the shirts on Instagram, they really blew up because of her huge following. The British model saw a pretty good business opportunity and announced that she was going to be making and selling her own version of the shirt and giving some of the proceeds to charity. But fans were quick to point out that she hadn't designed this shirt, and therefore it wasn't right to just sell it without crediting the original makers. And once Other Wild design studio caught on, they accused Cara of stealing the idea from a small business. They argued about who had the right to print the slogan, but because Cara was on the receiving end of most of the backlash, she eventually caved and agreed to link the company's website in her posts about the t-shirt. Number 2, Julia Fox comments. During an episode of their Forbidden Fruits podcast last year, Julia Fox and her co-host Nikki Takesh recounted a bizarre story of Cara being inappropriate towards Azealia Banks. The story goes that the two of them were at a party where the rapper was performing, and when they noticed something weird, Nikki said, "We looked to the side of the stage and we see this person trying to keep pushing past security, and we realized it was Cara Delevingne." Julia then said that they realized very quickly that Cara was wasted, and that after several attempts, she finally made her way up on stage while Azealia was performing and even stole the mic from her. Julia said that Cara's behavior was thirsty, and she could tell by Azalea's face that she was over it and just wanted to have her moment. It was a funny story that lines up very well with the video of Cara trying to lick Azalea's leg on stage, but it's probably just the way they partied together, considering that the two of them are close friends. And coming in at number 1, the awkward interview. In the middle of a promotional tour for her film Paper Towns, Cara appeared on Good Day Sacramento, and it was a complete disaster from start to finish. First of all, the anchors called her Carla instead of Cara, then they asked her whether or not she had read the book on which the film is based, and why she didn't seem more excited to be on the show despite making millions from the movie. In all fairness, Cara really didn't seem too enthusiastic when it came to promoting the film, and she eventually refused to respond to their questions. She really wasn't giving them anything to work with at all, except for quite a bad attitude. But it didn't really help that one of the anchors straight up told her, "We'll let you take a little nap and maybe get a Red Bull," essentially kicking her off the program. Although there is still a debate to this day about what made the interview so uncomfortable to watch, it is certainly one for the books.
At number 10, we have her forced marriage with Will Smith. Now, agree or disagree, but Jada herself has declared she got married unwillingly, and here's why. Much like everything else, Jada has openly discussed never wanting to initially marry Will, and because of this, a lot of people have made claims that Jada was wed under duress. However, Jada chalked it up to a far more reasonable explanation, and this was her being young and pregnant at the time. It's been stated how Jada's mother pushed her to tie the knot because she was fearful that Jada would never have the opportunity to get married if she didn't make that decision. Despite Jada's disapproval, the wedding still happened, and she never wanted a traditional marriage but had to compromise for Will's sake. She was going through various emotions at her 3-month term mark and even cried while going down the aisle because she was so angry with the idea of getting married. Not only was Jada against her marriage in general, she also disapproved of Will's luxurious lifestyle, and it's been detailed by sources that she was genuinely upset with Will when he bought their grand family home. If one didn't know any better, you could say their entire relationship seems forced at this point, but that's just a conspiracy theory and quite frankly, none of my business. At number 9, we have Jada being a huge attention seeker. Now this one is more of an observational theory rather than hard facts, but have you ever noticed how overly expressive she becomes when speaking about really personal things? Or how often she tries to shift the attention onto herself when it's really really not about her? Well, maybe not, but according to multiple sources, this is exactly how Jada is, and they've used how she describes love to be one of their reasonings. Jada once said, the older she becomes, the more she's discovering what love truly is. Now, there really isn't any harm in that statement, right? Maybe not. But it does say a lot about one's character when they've single-handedly used their deceased ex-lover and friend as a scapegoat for attention when they fall short. At least, this is what those sources are saying about Jada. And that's putting it nicely. She's been described as somebody who drags Tupac's name through interviews at any given chance, where a lot of the times her late ex isn't even the topic of discussion, and Jada would just randomly mention him whenever she felt there was no spotlight on her. Again, this is more speculation, but why else would she continuously bring up someone she was close to who passed away? Wouldn't it hurt more to talk about them 24/7 rather than rarely or not at all? It's also been revealed that Jada got super pissed at Will at her 40th birthday party, which Will had been planning for 3 years prior. He had surprised her with a documentary he commissioned that chronicled her life. One would think this gesture of appreciation would work out in Will's favor, but it didn't. Jada and Will had it out after the party, and the incident was said to have popped off in their hotel when Will was reportedly shouted at and told that the event was one of the most disgusting displays of ego Jada had ever seen in her life. As a result, she and Will separated, as Will told her he was retiring from making her happy. I mean, that's one sure way to suck all the good vibes out of the room. At number 8, we have Jada's manipulation tactics. Now this is a big one, because of everything I looked into regarding Jada, the word manipulation came up a scary amount of times. Reasons why she's been referred to as such range from a multitude of things, many of which have to do with her husband. There's Jada's lack of reassurance to Will of her and Tupac's actual relationship at the time, to her claims that she and Tupac only kissed once and that there was nothing more there. But it was apparent Tupac had feelings for Jada. Yet, Jada's own description of their relationship was quote weird. Jada no doubt strung Will along by being manipulative once she and Will started dating by casually trying to play off her situation with Tupac. In doing this, she had both their support and attention, hence the manipulation tactic. Jada used this excuse of not defining her relationship openly as an advantage for herself. With both of them by her side, the situation was manipulated to the point where no one could speculate any wrongdoing from her, while she still got what she wanted in the end. Some even say that Jada forced Will to transition to an open marriage down the road as another manipulation tactic for her being forced to marry him originally. At number 7, we have all the toxic energy which seems to surround Jada. I mean, seriously, get this girl some sage or something, because I'm positive many people will mutually agree with me. And the craziest part, there's lots of proof to back up the theory that Jada is just straight up toxic. One example is her IG post with her and Will's marriage counselor. Now there are a few things to get into from this one video, but to keep things short and sweet, Jada started rolling without even asking Will if he was ready. This raised a lot of concerns about how their marriage operates behind closed doors. Jada also called Will foolish and constantly made it seem as if his opinions were invalid during this. So despite many people thinking Jada is great, there are a whole lot more who feel she is one of the most toxic, foul Hollywood celebs out there, with good reason. There's also the accusation that Jada was behind Willow's letter to Tupac post, which randomly arose on Instagram and was deleted shortly after. The moral of the point here is that Jada knows she can do whatever she wants without repercussions, and Will always be by her side to fight. So she'll never leave or actually change her ways, and to me, that's toxic AF. If you ask anybody, people say Jada's overall attitude towards Will is actually because he was never anything more to her than a rebound. But we'll get into that in just a minute. At number 6, we have Jada's responsibility for her polygamous marriage. Will and Jada are currently in what we call an open relationship, which basically just means they're free to see and be with whoever they please but can't leave each other. Will stepped forward to disclose multiple times that he and Jada's marriage for them cannot feel like a prison. And this stemmed from rumors of Jada engaging in an affair with her Hawthorne castmate Marc Anthony, who was married to Jennifer Lopez at the time of their then unconfirmed incident. Jada's inappropriate affairs, despite not being full-blown, were said to be the cause of her and Will's marriage being forced open. Basically, so Jada could mess around with other people without catching any of the blame or downfall. So long as Will agreed, of course. Which he did, by the way. And this may just be related to his previous statement of him saying he and Jada simply cannot get divorced. At number 5, we have the whole Future IG story mess, where Future made comments on Will and Jada's marriage after Jada opened up about intimacy on one of her Red Table talks to explain how a partner should know what she wants in the bedroom. Future first got involved after online memes started circulating about Will needing to hang out with him, who has a reputation for being involved with multiple women all the time, which implied that Will should learn to be more like Future in that sense. During her RTT, Jada described her partner's need to love her enough to know every part of her, which netizens thought implied Will didn't love her the way she was demanding. Twitter users also took her statements literally, which in turn sparked the whole debate of whether or not she embarrassed Will by saying she'd really bring Future to the red table. Charlemagne the God even questioned on his show once if Will was ever jealous of Jada and Tupac's relationship, where Will speaks about being insecure because of their tight bond. At number 4, we have Jada and her top-level narcissism. A user on Quora once described Jada as a histrionic, borderline narcissist, and their opinion on it in short is that Jada provokes Will's touch of feminism nature to bruise his ego. This user even explained why they feel Will has narcissistic tendencies and may even be one himself. They said, when you are involved with a highly narcissistic person, your mind is not your own. Jada said to Will, we're ride or die, bad marriage till the end. I knew then, they're both narcs. Will's masculinity suffered a narcissistic injury when Jada had a fling with a troubled young musician, a friend of her kid. Then Will went on Red Table to discuss it and she emasculated him. Will was triggered in the beginning by her obsession with Tupac. He took all of it out on Chris Rock when Jada gave him that look that triggered him to slap Chris. Chris was an easier target, that's my theory. Now, if we reel back to the public sharing of Willow's letter to Tupac, it made people feel like Jada was super self-absorbed for exploiting her daughter for her own selfish reasons. One YouTuber even commented on a video regarding Jada's behavior with the following: this woman somehow thinks she's a higher power, just out there healing the world, while realistically destroying all those close to her like narcissists do. Big yikes. At number 3, we have Jada's infidelity. Of course, she was out of line by her entanglement with August Alsina, especially because he was her son's friend and most likely vulnerable at the time. Plus, her messy affair with the R&B singer was later revealed by Will to have occurred after he and Jada were already separate. Despite this, Jada admitted to this affair of cheating when she and Will were not together but still married. But how she went about it was weird given what Will confirmed. She first made claims that Will gave his blessing for their affair, but the internet did not agree. It wasn't until Will publicly stepped forward to admit that Jada wasn't the only one being unfaithful that social media decided to ease up, though not by much. Still, people think Will's admission was a way to save face, but also to touch back on the rumors surrounding him and his Focus co-star Margot Robbie engaging in an affair of their own. Will's admission that he didn't give Jada permission to date because they weren't even together means their words, stories, and sides just aren't adding up. Regardless, Will says nothing Jada will do can ever change things for them now that they're open, because these were the terms they came to from the jump. Will and Jada are no longer described as married but as life partners instead. It's been detailed that Will may just be playing Jada's game because he doesn't want to lose her for good. At number 2, we have one of Hollywood's biggest drama queens. Well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch here, but Jada is known for being one for the dramatics, and that's been noted because of her household full of drama. However, it's also been detailed that both Will and Jada are equally responsible for the drama that occurs in their home. Still, with all of Jada's major backlash every time she speaks, and being labeled as messy and difficult due to her outing intimate details of her relationship to the public with no real remorse for Will's feelings, it's safe to say that the majority of the public is leaning on the side of Jada being the chaos enabler. At number 1, we have Jada's lack of boundaries. This one is a no-brainer, I'm sure, because we all know Jada has a tendency to air it all out, whether it's intentional or not. Jada has been described as someone who overshares too much to the public, and this severely impacts her family. She's not very private about anything, which shows there are no boundaries in her relationships overall. In particular, she has no respect for Will by exposing everything about their relationship, which is just tasteless. And before you say this is unfair, we literally know everything we do know about them now because of Jada. She was the one who admitted to infidelity, which really should have been something Will was warned about before it went public, since Will was clearly caught off guard by the news of August telling the world he gave them permission. She was also the one talking openly about her intimacy once while her mother was present. Jada also constantly speaks so horribly about her marriage in general, so I'm sure you get the point now.
Number 10, sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J.Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Glee alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J.Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Glee. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J.Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J.Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J.Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J.Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J.Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Marc Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J.Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. The Marc Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again, off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, all-casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not JLo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 4, avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes JLo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3, the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than JLo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2, accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, JLo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans. Using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Frey Dodage was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of JLo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. first I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful.